Hello, it's Kristen, and today we're going to do an unhaul. You may have seen on my channel fairly recently I did like a massive sort out of my bookshelves, and I decided to get rid of some books. So I'm just going to go through them now. First of all, we have Kindred Spirits by Rowell. This was a World Book Day like mini book. I initially got this because I was ordering a bunch of other stuff for uni, I think, and I needed like £1 to get my order into free shipping, and because it was around World Book Day, a bunch of these short books came out that were £1 each. And I, at the time, really liked Rowell, so I picked this one up. It's about a young girl who really likes Star Wars, and it's set when The Force Awakens is coming out, and so she's very excited that there's a new Star Wars movie coming out after all these years. And so she decides to like camp out outside the cinema. I enjoyed it for what it was. I've read it a couple of times. I read it a couple of years ago, I think, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, as part of a readathon, because I needed to like last minute complete a challenge, and so I thought I'd give this a reread. And both times I read it, I thought it was okay. I think I gave it like 3 stars. It's nothing special. I also love Star Wars, but it's slightly tainted in that I'm not particularly a fan of the sequel trilogy. I liked The Force Awakens. I was iffy on The Last Jedi, and I just straight up don't really like the final one in the trilogy. So the whole book being about the excitement of the new Star Wars films is like, hindsight, not that exciting. And I don't see myself rereading this again, so I'm gonna get rid. Next up we have Wuthering by Emily Bronte. The only reason I'm getting rid of this is because I have another copy of it. I've read this a few times. I studied it in school. When I studied it, I wasn't a huge fan, and then I reread it for myself, by myself, the following year, and I enjoyed it a lot more. I hesitated getting rid of this because I really like this bright green, but the writing on the inside is very cramped, and I wear glasses most of the time when I remember to when I read, and this just makes my eyes go funny. But my other copy, the writing is a lot more spaced out and like not as blurry to me. So if I were to physically read either of my copies, I would read my other copy. So I don't need to hang on to this. I'm gonna see if I can maybe give this one to my sister or a friend. Next up we have On Chesil Beach by Ian McEwan. I was so tempted to keep this because I have a couple of other Ian McEwans that I'm probably gonna keep. And when I first read this, I was reading other Ian McEwan stuff for school, and so in my mind I was like, I really like Ian McEwan, and I gave this like 4 or 5 stars when I first read it, but I reread it a couple of years ago around the time that I reread Kindred Spirits, and I did not like it. The first time I read it in a day because it is really short, and then the second time I read it, it took me forever to get through it, because now that I'm older, I think I just realized how unlikable the dude is. I feel sympathy for the woman in it. It's about a couple who get married, and it's their wedding night, and the bride gets really nervous, and I think you can definitely read into it that she is asexual. So I have a lot of sympathy for her in the book, and he just like fully doesn't understand that. It's set in the 60s, but he's just like really not understanding. You get like to see how they met and like different points in their relationship as it like flashes back and forth. But I just didn't like it on reread, so I don't think I would ever be tempted to reread it again. So I'm gonna get rid. Next up, we have one that actually I took off my TBR. I haven't read it, but it's The Gender by Holly Baxter and Rhiannon Lucy Coslet. I got given this by one of my sister's work colleagues, was getting rid of some books, and my sister picked this one up for me from her colleague because I like feminist non-fiction. But this, when I looked into it, does not sound like my thing. It was written a while ago. It's all about like the media depiction of women, but talks mostly about like magazines and how like fashion magazines influence that, and I've never been like a fashion magazine kind of person, so I don't know that I can relate to it in that respect. Also, I looked up some reviews and people said it's very like, seems to think that all women think the same way, and it's very white centric and heterocentric, and doesn't really take into account like intersectionality. So I don't want to read that. I want intersectionality and diversity in my feminist readings. Another one I took off my TBR that I've never read but I'm going to get rid of is Red Hill by Jamie Maguire. I picked this up years ago because I knew that it was about like an apocalypse, and I really like sort of end of the world fiction. But since I bought this, Jamie Maguire is massively problematic. I will leave a really good blog that I read below that goes into like more detail, but she has said racist things. She has said like misogynistic things. People have said that specifically in this book there's also like slut shaming. And I also looked up a review that said that there's like, it's not like a prevalent thing, but there's like a comment in here that's kind of transphobic, which I'm not here for. So I do not want to support an author. I know I've already bought the book, but I do not want to put this on my Goodreads or on my YouTube or anything, and just personally don't want to read a book that is written by someone who has said and done lots of very problematic, dodgy stuff. So I do not want to own Jamie Maguire. Next up is another one I just took off my TBR because I don't think I'm ever going to read it, and it is Recipe for Love by Katie Ford. This one, I don't even really know what it's about. It got left at my workplace, and then no one ever claimed it, no one ever picked it up for like a year, and we didn't really know what to do with it. It was just taking up space then in our workspace. So we decided to get rid of it, and I thought, it's a book, I'll take it, and then I read what it's actually about and it doesn't sound like something I want to read. The main character is called Zoe, and she takes place in a televised cookery competition, and then along the way I think she hooks up with one of the judges. So it's like a romance, women's fiction, which I kind of hate that term, but it doesn't sound like something I want to read. I love a good romance, but this isn't the kind of romance I go for. Next up we have The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I had this on my TBR for ages, and then I finally read it last year, and I was disappointed. I've read a couple of Neil Gaiman stuff now, and I've not liked any of them, so I think Neil Gaiman's just not for me. This was a bit of a weird one that I can't even really explain. there's a young guy and he's surrounded by like mysterious, kind of magical, fantastical people and things. I'm just, yeah, I wasn't a fan. I don't see myself ever rereading it, so I'm going to pass it on to someone who would appreciate it more. Then we have Shards and Ashes, which is a collection of short stories by lots of young adult authors, all about apocalypse, end of the world kind of stuff. Some of them are like paranormal, some of them are science fiction. There are a couple, I think, that feed into other like longer running series. Like I think the one by Beth Revis actually is like a novella that leads into her Across the Universe series. Short story collections are always iffy for me because there can be ones that I really love and ones that I really hate, so then I don't know how to overall rate the book. But this one I'm gonna get rid of because they were all very much like either 2, 3, or 4 stars. There wasn't any particular one story in here that I loved, because sometimes I will keep a short story collection if I loved like at least one story in there, but all of these were pretty like, yeah, for me. And I don't think I'd ever reread them. So yeah, gonna get rid of this one and maybe someone else can appreciate them more. And then finally, I'm getting rid of the Anna and the French Kiss series by Stephanie Perkins. So that's Anna and the French Kiss, Lola and the Boy Next Door, and Isla and the Happily Ever After. Several reasons for this. I don't see myself ever rereading these. These were very indicative of a certain time in my life years ago. Anna and the French Kiss, in hindsight, I don't know why I liked it, because I liked it when I read it as a teen. But if I read it now, I think I would just get pissed off, because there's like a lot of emotional cheating, because Anna likes Etienne and Etienne has a girlfriend, and that just annoys me and I don't know why I was okay with it. Also, I've heard people talking about it and I don't remember this aspect of it so much, but Anna is like a big fan of film and she goes to Paris, and like French film is like a massive thing, and yet she's seems surprised that like film is a big thing in France, and is like very snobby about the kind of film she likes. And I'm a bit like, can you claim to be a fan of like all film and cinema and then only really like American film? No. I personally think no. So yeah, I don't think I would like Anna as a character now. I don't think I would like the love interest. So I don't want to keep it. Lola and the Boy Next Door I remember liking, and I think it's probably less problematic in those elements, but I cannot remember a single thing about it, so it clearly made no impression on me. And then Isla and the Happily Ever After was the one that I read quite a while after those, like a couple of years after. So is the most recent, and by most recent I mean like 5 years ago, that I read, and I remember enjoying it at the time because I think it was like one of the first books I read upon finishing or towards the end of uni, when I actually had time to read, and so I think I was just so into it because I was like, I'm reading again. And I whizzed through it because it's young adult contemporary, but again I don't remember like anything about it. So they have not had an impact on me in the ways that other young adult contemporary fiction has, and I've never felt compelled to pick them up again. So I sort of feel like why keep them? They're not ones that I'm going to pick up again. They're not ones that I'd loan to friends particularly. I think I'm just a bit too, not necessarily too old, because I still enjoy some young adult fiction, but they're not the kind of young adult fiction that I am looking for now at the point of my life that I'm in. So they're gonna go, even though they're so pretty. And that is it for now. I have a bunch of books that I also want to reread to see if I still want them or not, so I could very well be doing another unhaul within the year. But that is it for now. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 books that I'm getting rid of. All of these are leaving my shelves. And then eventually I can make room for more new books. So that is my unhaul. I always think it's good to reevaluate your shelves every now and then. And whilst unhauling is tough, I also think it's cathartic. So yes, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon with another video soon. Bye.